February the 8th, 2025. Guys, we have a beautiful Saturday morning here in central Mississippi. It is 73 degrees outside, kind of warm. Real feel is 81. It's been like that for a few days. And guys, I think what we're seeing is what I would call a false spring. I'm sitting here looking out my office window. It's beautiful white clouds blowing in from the west, northwest. But there's pollen, clouds of pollen coming from my pine trees, like little clouds. As the wind picks up, you'll see them blow. And that's way too early. And that's concerning to me about if we have a late freeze and everything's trying to bloom out now, what kind of destruction would that cause? And we may be, again, going to experience a very warm summer. We're just going to have to wait and see. And that would, of course, affect hurricane season. We're not going to go there now. Don't worry about that. I'm just mentioning what I'm seeing here for early spring. But what I want to talk about is an article that's out. There are a couple of things I want to talk about, but this one, Vice President J.D. Vance, he wrote, and there's three things he mentioned. He said, and this has to do with the Democrats, and it goes back when the last election, not this one just had, but the one before was manipulated, we'll put it that way, very heavily. Where did all the money come from to put that many people into all of the crooked poll watchers, the people handing out ballots, destroying ballots, copying ballots, putting up cardboard over the windows where you couldn't watch? How did that all come about so quickly? Well, it had been planned for that takeover, and it almost worked. Well, it did work for 4 years, but now that's over. And the Democrats are going to really have a hard time coming back into almost any position of power unless you're deeply rooted into somewhere like Los Angeles or somewhere like that where it's just, well, let me take that back. A lot of these places have a lot of good people in them, but the darn voting is so rigged and so much money goes into it that it's almost meaningless when you see it year after year with like Pelosi and Schiff and Schumer, year after year. People are not voting for those guys like they think or like they're saying they are. It's manipulation. But now what J.D. Vance says happened this time, and why we're seeing left and rights coming from every direction from the new administration, the crooked media and the crooked Dems cannot even keep up with it. You saw the hilarity yesterday outside the Department of Education. Well, now they've moved to the Department of Consumer Finance, which was another big-time dirty dog for the last several years, not just the last 4, because they had a controlling factor on the banks that was illegal, but they did it anyway. And I've mentioned that. I said, it seems like all of these Democrats are running, well, we're senators, we're congressmen, and you can't just do this. But that didn't matter in the last 4 years, did it? Anything they wanted, they just did it. But now that's come home to roost for them, except now we're doing it right. They're going to be destroyed, and a lot of good things are happening. But Vance said this time they were not prepared for the algorithms that could map everything. In other words, of course, Elon Musk has a brilliant team. Of course, he created PayPal. Now look what all the other things he's done. He can land a rocket back on the planet. Now you've got a lot of good people around you when you can do that. And that's what he's doing now. In other words, Vance is saying they prepared. Remember, the elections started out this time, and it looked like it was going to be a lot of rigging going on, and quickly those things were shut down. I think the algorithms were in place then. But now they're using to go into like the Department of Education or the USAID building and put their programming into it, their algorithms, and quickly get a full map of everything. They don't have that technology. The Republicans do, and Musk is using it very wisely. I think it was on maybe the USAID's building, 5th or 6th floor. They completely blocked off, moved in beds and stuff for the crews that are working 24/7 on these algorithms and checks, right? They've got armed guards, and the people are throwing a fit. That's why they wouldn't let Mad Maxine and that bunch in yesterday. But it not only said they never prepared for the algorithms, but for personal are for personnel pre-positioned everywhere, not only for the election, but for people to move in immediately after the 20th and start taking over. And the third thing was for a president who counts every week like it's his last. And at his age and my age, and a lot of you guys' ages, that's really a good thing to do. But what I'm hoping for, regardless of Trump's age, that he makes it for a long, long time. And then we have 8 years of Vance or somebody like that. And that would be enough time. If this 4 years isn't enough to destroy the Democratic Party, that will be, because they need to be extinguished. And because they were so destructive. It says, if you wondered since 2016 how come the blob and the Democratic Party were aligned so exquisitely in their operations to destroy populism personified by Mr. Trump, and to permanently entrench single-party power in America for all time to come. That's what they were doing. That's what they thought they had from now on. That's why it was all in your face, from the judges that were crooked, from New York to Florida to L.A., to everything else you were seeing, the destruction of our farms. They thought they had it. They did not prepare for these algorithms. Thank our Father in heaven, guys, for the second chance, and never forget him, because Nineveh had this happen to him. Some places like Sodom and Gomorrah, they did not get a second chance. Anyway, we have that second chance, and we need to guard it very carefully. A lot of good things happened yesterday, too. I'll read you I'll show you that Trump took away all of the gun rules and regulations that Biden had put in for the last 4 years, slipping them through. A bunch of them, as a matter of fact. They're all gone. Full power has been restored to our Second Amendment. I'll show you that. It happened yesterday afternoon in an executive order. It says, it's because an endless fund, and this is why the Democrats, let's go back to 2016, how they did it up until now, to 2025, basically. It's because an endless front of taxpayer money was streamed into countless non-governmental orgs, creating a shadow civil service or Democratic Party activists that melded seamlessly with the big policy-making agencies. Everything was bought and paid for with our tax money. Billions and trillions of dollars to the media, to the protesters, to Black Lives Matter guys, to painting the streets, to burning buildings. It goes on and on. It says the money was laundered through manifold layers of these organizations and their sub-orgs to pay for an ongoing color revolution in the USA. And we knew that was happening. Hillary tried to do it. Lawfare, election fraud, propaganda, censorship, career cancellation, media, I'm not going to say that word, medical shenanigans, we'll put it that way, open borders, and their other totalitarian ploys, while enriching political players at all those manifold layers, from multimillionaire congressmen and senators. Now you know why Maxine and Schumer and them throwing a fit, right? To thousands of NGO officials making six-figure salaries, to street hustlers like Patrice Cullors of Black Lives Matter, and anti-racism racists like Ibram X. Kendi and his $50 million Center for Anti-Racist Research at Boston University, which was recently axed. And of course, ultimately, the former Potemkin president, Joe Biden, and his family. Another thing Trump did yesterday, he took away all of Joe Biden's security clearances. He cannot access it anymore. He will not get briefings. It's the first time that's ever happened, but it needed to happen, because what was going to happen? Biden could care less, but whoever was there with him in these, they would spread the word. It would be leaks everywhere. And so they're axed. And I'm thinking that, Biden didn't pardon himself, but the states now are going after Fauci. They more than likely can go after Biden too. But actually, when you start dismantling the deep state like we're seeing, these people are coming down. But Fauci now is being pursued, I think 26 state attorney generals or something like that on state levels, which he cannot be pardoned for. It was all this money, which was our money. We worked so hard for, guys, and we pay so much taxes. And this is what these people are doing. Every one of them needs to be imprisoned, if not executed. on the highest levels, especially when it comes to overthrowing countries, and which includes our country they tried to overthrow. They need to hang them high. It was all the money that drove 8 years of sponsored insanity. That's a good way to put it. Mainly, it kept the hands of the Democratic Party firmly on the levers of power, that nothing could be done about the insults and injuries they were inflicting on our country. We saw that from day one. I called it the Dog King scenario, and that goes back into history. Back in Europe, one kingdom would overtake the other kingdom in a battle. Then they would put a dog in place of the king that had been more than likely killed. And that dog was the new king. In other words, they did everything in the background and they propped up a Biden dog or something like that. But a real dog back in the European days. There's one story where the people in the castle that had to take care of the king dog were so upset, they let him out one night, and the wolves were roaming around there in Europe in the wintertime, and they let him out and they never seen him again, and things like that. But the Dog King situation is very real. China was behind a good bit of it, and their money coming in. Actually, China was using our money to funnel back to politicians here. It says, so it is a mystery that nobody was prosecuted for burning cities in 2020. It's not anymore. Or for magically creating millions of extra Joe Biden votes out of nowhere that year, or setting up the kickback machine from Ukraine to Congress, which we said from day one, money was going to Ukraine, coming back to the Democrats, or forcing millions to get a vaccine. It ends that section with saying Pam Bundy is going to be a busy girl. It says the DOGE has uncovered a government racketeering operation of which USAID or the USAID scandal is but one cog in the colossal engine of grift. By the way, guys, if you send a picture, I think I got one. I'll put it up before I end the video. They immediately pulled in one of those blue lifts, the construction lifts, and took all the letters down off of this USAID, the United States Aid building. They taped over on the metal post, like you see in D.C. outside, taped over that, took all the letters off the building. Now it's going to be basically a Homeland Security, Border Patrol building. Pretty cool, huh? But they took it down yesterday. They're not playing. It's not going to wait down in a year or two from all of this to change. It's changing faster than you can keep up with. And that is the key to success in what they're having to do. But again, DOGE has uncovered a government racketeering operation in which USAID scandal is one cog in this colossal engine of grift. What the public, including us, may not appreciate is how much planning went in over the past year to mount the DOGE effort, and how comprehensively the work of its many hundreds of computer techs, not just 6 whiz kids, has laid bare the money trails out of previously impenetrable government computers. Think of that. Their algorithms have pierced the firewalls, revealing decades of fraud and deceit. It's all coming down. Thank our Father in heaven. God, just do it. Say thank you for stepping in and saving this nation and trying to remove the Babylonian perspective from it, which the Democrats would say it like that. But again, their algorithms have pierced the firewalls, revealing decades of fraud and deceit. Love it. Now, it's just 8 days into February, but the cabinet officers from Trump's office have started the job of dismantling the machine by getting rid of the employees who set it up and work for it. By Thursday, Secretary of State Rubio fired all but 300 of 10,000 people working for USAID. CIA Director Ratcliffe. That's a really great thing. I like this guy. He offered the agency's entire workforce a deferred resignation option that will allow them to bail out and still collect their salaries into September. This is part of legal things that has to be done, and it does protect the lower level workers, guys, that were not in on the shenanigans. Now I've got my Huskies wanting to do their howl. Can you guys hear that? That's 2 of them. Pepper's the leader of the choir. In a minute, there will be 9 Huskies doing that, guys. Just, I guess you can hear it. Anyway, yeah, they do it about 2 or 3 times a day, and that one puppy Well, he's not a puppy. He's 2 years old now. He's the choir leader. Every time he starts, and before you know it, there's a minute of uncontrollable howling, hooting, and singing. But that's what's going on. Anyway, they're saying that Ratcliffe offered the agency's entire workforce a deferred resignation. Again, that 9-month deal. Now it started out 20,000 people took it, and then the next day or two, 40,000 people, and now I think it's up to 65,000 people have taken this 8-month payout and get out. But I read this thing about some of the DOGE people, especially the young ones. They were doing interviews in that building, 15-minute interviews for each employee that were there, and I don't know how many people were doing the interviews as far as the people asking the questions. They gave them 15 minutes to explain why they were necessary they were necessary to continue working for this company. What did they give to the company that was worth keeping them? They had 15 minutes to answer, and I don't think many of them passed it. It says, look for straight-up firings to ensue. Acting Deputy Attorney General Mel Bove ordered the acting FBI director to terminate 8 senior FBI officials and asked for a review of up to 5,000 involved in J6 investigations, including presumably agents who engaged in abusive SWAT team deployments. It's exactly what they did, and they did it. The FBI set this thing up. J6 would have never happened without a Trojan horse in the middle of all of that. It says many lawsuits have been mounted by blob-adjacent attorneys, that's what they're calling them, to make all this stop. And you saw it to where when they were going to go into the Consumer Finance building, a judge stopped it. Well, another judge came in, happened to be a Bush appointee, and stopped that judge. So now they're going in everywhere they want to. It says hundreds of dollars an hour on the metered multiplied by X hundreds of lawyers was previously paid by exactly those NGOs that are getting shut down now. So perhaps you can see exactly how these levers of power work. The money will have to come from somewhere else, and I doubt that Silicon Valley billionaire blob supporter Reid Hoffman wants to pee away the rest of his fortune on this. They're implicating him and what's been going on. And guys, a lot of the money was Soros' money, but Soros got some of the money that he sent over here from USAID. That's something, isn't it? Some actual persons will have to be held accountable for all the mischief carried out and the rogue agencies over many years. It has to start somewhere. And they want to start with Samantha Power, who was, she was in charge of the USAID for the last 4 years under Obama. And from January up to January 20th, 2025, including the duration of the Ukraine war. She was personally very busy hands-on in arranging attempted color revolutions in Hungary. It failed against Viktor Orban. In Georgia, it failed. Mexico failed. In Brazil, it succeeded against Jair Bolsonaro. Miss Power, Samantha Power, provided money from USAID-connected NGOs to foster instability in many countries, including our country. It must have come as quite a shock to her that Kamala Harris did not win the 2024 election. USAID will not be paying for Miss Power's legal representation. Guys, it's just a breath of fresh air. 99.9% of us here work hard. We want our country to prosper. We want to make sure our kids prosper as far as they're taken care of. They have a real education, not this libtard crap we've been seeing. That's all we care about. But we don't want that hard-earned money, getting 30, 40% of it. Plus, you add all the taxes on food, gas, and everything else, getting all our money and send it to our enemies. They need to go down. They need to go down hard. Gitmo cannot hold the crooks. So, as a matter of fact, the Venezuelan, or was it? Maybe it wasn't Venezuela. It may have been Colombia. They got a very rough prison, the worst in the world. And they said they would take people there if countries paid them from any country. And you won't have any problems with it anymore. And I've seen some videos of how they handle the gangs there. Not very nice, but I would love to see Pelosi and Schumer, Schiff, with the whole gang on a chain gang. You know what I mean? go get away from the U.S., go somewhere else, another planet, another dimension where demons live, or where they go to die. Do that and get out of our way. You've tried to destroy us personally, YouTubers who wanted to tell the truth. Now we're telling the truth. Then we may still get taken down. So don't forget to sign up for our Patreon channel, guys. But either way, they're just going to have to do it because the truth is going to come out, and I'm going to be behind it doing it. So if I get taken down, if you sign up for our newsletter on bpearthwatch.com, you'll get a notification of videos that will go from not YouTube if they take us down, but to our website, bpearthwatch.com, and to Patreon. It's a free sign up, no name, just an email address to where we can send you the notifications. Pretty simple. We don't share any information, but I'm hoping we don't have to go that far. We've got the right people in place, and there was enough prayer, whether you believe it or not, there was enough prayer against the demons that what we see now is just a blessing. It's something that God is saying to us. You are my people. You're awake, not woke, you're awake now to what was going on with the evil side of this. It was still an evil, a battle between evil and good. But we now are on the winning side, and guys, we've only been, 18 or 19 days since January the 20th, and look at the difference in this country. It says much more will come to shock these blobsters and their legions. Though just now, as the reformation of government begins, it's comforting just to think of all those dedicated Satanists, wokesters, Marxists, Jacobins unable to make their rent payments, to buy groceries all of a sudden. That's what they were doing to us. The paychecks have stopped coming for thousands who wanted to turn American life upside down and inside out. This happened most colorfully at the fake news outfit called Politico this week. Turned out they were a subsidiary of the blob. Who knew? Everyone was paying attention to the jive they published. Management had to send out a memo that reporters and editors could not get paid this week or maybe ever again. It's all taken down. It was also revealed this week that Reuters news agency, the Associated Press, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and around 700 other news outfits altogether had been receiving financial support or our taxpayer money from USAID, the CIA, and other government entities. Do you understand why the Democratic Party voters are so deluded and deranged? They're not just worried about their paychecks. They're worried about their freedom. Besides the perfunctory lawsuits filed against DOGE and the agency chiefs, the response to all this corrective action has been surprisingly feeble. You might conclude that they couldn't marshal the riots this time because the money for rioters had been cut off. Instead, you saw a motley pack of political creeps. Very good terminology there. Jamie Raskin, Ayanna Pressley, Liz Warren, Chuck Schumer, Maxine Waters, Jasmine Crockett, Ilhan Omar crying crocodile tears outside of USAID headquarters. Now, crocodile tears, guys, I know you know what it means, but it's like they're saying if you're in the water with a crocodile and you see the tears coming down, that's right before you get eaten. Okay? That's kind of what they're talking about. It says they look like roaches after the exterminator's visit. We all watched it yesterday, didn't we? The reform of our gone rogue government is barely underway. Notwithstanding these mighty initial actions, yet to come, you have the whole filthy underbelly of the public health agencies. Guys, remember this? I was just talking about how Medicare, Medicaid, and the medical providers had ripped us off for, was it $40 billion just last year? You know, and I told the story of getting an $80,000 bill for 3 days of tests at a hospital, no operations. And they got a very strong phone call over that. And they knew they were wrong. They'd been knowing that. I've already had it straightened out through one of my doctors in the last 6 months. They were overbilling me. The doctor actually, the one doctor that I really like, got on the phone and got that bill straightened out. Anyway, it's all I can say is thank goodness, and I'm sorry for all of my friends that have had to suffer through this. It says, beyond these grifts lies the treason, bribery, conspiracy, sedition deriving from Russiagate, the impeachment of 2019, all the shenanigans emanating out of Ukraine since the maiden revolution of 24, Joe Biden. Turns out it was all of one piece. The same cast of characters were involved in all these nefarious events. I believe we'll see those Joe Biden preemptive pardons tested in the Supreme Court. You haven't begun to hear about the cases that A.G. Bundy will have to consider in that giant hairball, only in her second day on the job. Listen, it's going too fast. The Democrats cannot stop this because of the planning, the algorithms, all of the above, pre-positioned in place to move too quickly. Now the Democrats really have been thrown out. They just don't know it yet. And as Billy Gibbons says on quite a few songs, have mercy. He's talking about own these people that Pam Bundy's coming after. Now, this is something else, guys, that happened yesterday. Notice your time at the bottom or your date stamp, February the 7th. Executive order protecting Second Amendment rights. This is probably the most important because Trump has the right idea. You have to have your guns to protect yourself from the demons that try to run the country. Let's read that. It's not very long. Again, signed yesterday afternoon by Trump. He said, by the authority invested in me as president, by the Constitution and the laws of the U.S. of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, purpose. The Second Amendment is an indispensable safeguard of security and liberty. It is to preserve the right of American people to protect ourselves and our families and our freedom since the founding of our great nation. Because it is foundational to maintaining all other rights. Think about that. Held by Americans, the right to keep and bear arms must not be infringed. Anybody happy with that? And all you Democrat bots that like to come in and comment as we see America standing back up again, crawl back in your holes. It's not going to work. It says this, it's the plan of action. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General, which is Pam Bundy, shall examine all orders, all regulations, all guidance, all plans, international agreements, and other actions of executive departments and agencies to assess any ongoing infringement of the Second Amendment rights of our citizens and present a proposed plan of action to the President through the Domestic Policy Advisor to protect the Second Amendment rights of all Americans. Within 30 days, they have to have everything the Democrats have done, every little bump stock thing, whatever it is going to be taken out. Full freedom of the Second Amendment is coming, guys. It says, in developing this plan, the Attorney General shall review at minimum all presidential and agency actions from January 2021 through January 2025 that purport to promote safety but may have impinged on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. They wanted them gone. That's what happened to Europe. And it is a mess over there, guys. Rules promulgated by the Department of Justice, including by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives from January 2021, January 2025, pertaining to firearms and our federal firearms license. Agencies' plans and orders is number 3, and actions regarding the so-called enhanced regulatory enforcement policy pertaining to firearms and our federal firearm license. Number 4, reports and related documents issued by the White House Office of Gun Violence Protection. The position taken by the U.S. in any and all ongoing potential litigation that affects or could affect the ability of Americans to exercise their Second Amendment rights. He wants the full list. Number 6, he wants the agency's classification of firearms and ammunition and the processing of applications to make, manufacture, transfer, and export firearms. They were trying to take everything, guns, ammunition, gun builders, gun license, turn us into another overrun Europe disaster. I hate to say that. We got friends there, but you guys know it better than we do. Section 3 is the implementation. Upon submission of this proposed plan of action described in Section 2 of the order, the Attorney General shall work with the Domestic Policy Advisor to finalize the plan of action and establish a process for implementation. Section 4, general provisions. A, nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law to an executive department, agency, or the head thereof. And that's what the rest of this is about. The order is not intended to or does not create any right or benefit. This is just legalese in there. But guys, they're looking at it within 30 days, which won't take that long, I don't think, especially if they use the algorithms that Musk is. But I think that all of this is going to come back down. And that will happen is just like they're saying about rebuilding our military. Peace comes through strength. And that happens all the way down the street level. If you got a big old guy about 6'8", linebacker looking, you're not just going to want to walk up and slap him in the head because you're going to get knocked out or probably killed, right? That's the same thing with our guns. Everyone, you go out and get you a gun, get you a holster, get the license that you need, and or wait 30 days, it might be easier. Anyway, they're not going to take them from us. Make sure they don't, because once they do that, there'll be another scourge of creeps like we see now, trying to come door to door with 80,000 armed IRS agents and take everything you have, including your butt, to prison. Those days are over, so arm yourselves, prepare with food and water. You may not even need it, but it's good to have. But just as a message to these evil demons, we are on top of this situation. You're not even relevant anymore. Scurry back into your holes as we drag you out one by one in chains and put you before a judge, maybe a military judge. But guys, that's where we're heading. There's a lot more to talk about. Here comes our Huskies talking again. Listen, what's happening now, Tina is backing her car out to run to the store, and they throw a fit every time somebody leaves. I'll let you listen for a moment. It's takes a little bit to get used to, but after a couple of years of it, it's just another noise out there. But that's how they talk, that's how they communicate, and I have no problem with it. I hope you guys don't mind it in the background. Oh, they're really getting excited now. They know when she leaves and goes like into town, they're gonna get treats coming back in. And that's what they're talking about now. Hurry, get back, get the treats in here, guys. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. It's been 32 minutes now, and I've rambled enough, guys. I could talk for 2 or 3 more hours on what they've done. But, again, they are, let me back up. I'm going to show you a picture. Again, I almost forgot about this. This is yesterday. This is the guy on the lift. He's knocking the letters off of the USAID building, guys. Think about that. It's the U.S. Agency for Aid and Development, whatever it is. He's taking those down. Nothing's up over there yet. I've seen pictures of it completely done. And I've been to D.C. twice, and they'll have these type signs, and then right on the sidewalk, kind of, they have a metal two-sided sign, and they'll have the list of the different departments that are in that building, and they just took some black tape and put over the part that says USAID, and they've taken the letters down. There were a lady out there and some other people protesting. One was crying. Sounded like they were saying, "My money, where's my money?" I don't know what they were saying, but it was pretty ridiculous. But this is what's happening. Now, not only that, it says rest in peace. This is the Consumer Finance Bureau. Elon Musk's DOGE embeds itself within the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. A judge had stopped this, and then another judge yesterday, thank you, judge, came in and said, no, that judge is overridden. Go ahead and go in. So they're in there now with these algorithms. This Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, guys, was in on it. It was one of the cogs they're talking about, along with AIDS. And what they had done, and their bureau chief, this guy from India, he is fired. But the Department of Justice had gone into this Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, and they got together and illegally demanded that banks start debanking conservatives, from rich to poor. It says that DOGE has begun its auditing protocols at the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau after it said the agency should be deleted. Musk come out with that. I think, like they said, some of this was pre-positioned. He came out a few months ago and said that they should be deleted. Musk, who was handpicked by Donald Trump to reduce wasteful and fraudulent spending within the government, told the Bureau to rest in peace. In a Friday afternoon post on X, shortly after Bloomberg reported that DOGE had taken the first steps towards dismantling that entire agency. Look at the money being saved already. But these people don't need to just be fired, the ones that were running it. They need to be held. They need to be persecuted, prosecuted, and everything they've gotten illegally, homes, houses, islands, whatever it is, confiscated, put back into the coffers of the American people, maybe even pay us back a percentage of the taxes every year that they took from us. I don't think they should get away with anything. Then, if they don't qualify for capital punishment because of treason, then at least 20, 30 years in Gitmo would do them a little bit of good, I think. They'll just realize, how did the devil talk us into this mess? It's because you were greedy idiots. That's how. And DOGE has said there are too many duplicate regulatory agencies. That's so they can just stack up the money. DOGE's president at the Bureau comes shortly after Trump reportedly fired CFPB's former leader, Rohit Chopra, in an email last week. Chopra, a protege of Elizabeth Warren. Pocahontas has previously backed efforts to force banks to grant loans to illegal immigrants, saying in 2023 the government will not allow companies to use immigration status as an excuse for illegal discrimination. In other words, we can't borrow the money to get a home. And all the job numbers, guys, for the last year or two have been, they just kind of went through the analogs on it. I don't think there was hardly any American citizens hired into the new hirings. It said the CFPB as a whole has long been criticized by Republicans as a government power grab that does little to protect the consumers, and that's its name, and hampers economic growth. So, guys, it's one agency after the other. We're seeing 2 or 3 a day in some cases on the news. And this is Saturday. They're not doing a lot today that we know about because of mainstream media. You know, Saturday's Super Bowl, weekend, all of that, which is bread and circuses, by the way. I'm not sure. I think the Chiefs are in it, but I haven't watched football since the first time they knelt several years ago when Trump was in office. I think it's when they started that. Anyway, I don't know who's in it, don't care, won't watch it. And especially with the polluted, diluted, satanic halftime activities, guys. Just not going to happen here. You get as old as I am, you can find a lot better ways to use your time than that mess. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see the YouTube videos Monday morning of all the devilish things that we saw at the or that's seen at the Super Bowl halftime. Anyway, guys, we're watching it. It's going by very fast. Just keep your eyes on updates. Again, I hope they don't take us down with the new administration. I think Google may have started doing some ring kissing. We'll see. But again, it will not hurt you to sign up for that newsletter. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.